Okay, time for a new podcast. I think I need to not start with a topic because sometimes whatever I start talking about ends up as something else. So I'm not 100% sure what the topic is yet, so we'll just start talking. I'm currently writing a book on my experience moving through grief and awakening at the same time. As I'm writing about both experiences, there is a level of reliving some of the moments on both sides of that some were not very pleasant and some were quite profound and interesting moments. And as I start to write more and more, I'm getting closer to the end of the big old vomit draft, which is the 100,000 words that I'm aiming for, so that I can really get into it once all the words are out there in the pieces that they come out. The more and more I start to write about the whole journey of it, from where I was to where I am now, it's literally like a storm. But where I've ended up, and I was talking to one of my friends about this today, about how this journey is so lonely. Not in a sense of the typical lonely feelings that you have from whatever experiences, etc. It's that spiritual journey of you becoming who you are. It's a very individual process. So it's not meant to be, hey guys, guess what? Let's go on this spiritual journey together, and off you trollop for a couple of years in search of yourselves together. We know that that's not the process. We do know, however, that we do find our people. We do find those energetic frequencies of the people who are going to match you where you're at, and you will find them along your journey and along the way. But it just, the more and more that I start looking for answers to these big questions that I have, the more questions I find. And I know that there is a never-ending wealth of information and things that we will never understand, but this consistency of me continually asking these questions and finding my own answers takes me to a place that I can no longer reflect with many people. It's like you don't have that sounding board of people giving back to you where I sort of was, say 3 years prior. If you were living your life just uninhibited and just doing the daily normal stuff of going to a job and earning money and living in your family relationship and experience and having children and doing all those things and talking to your partner and talking to your friends, talking to your colleagues about certain things, you would speak of something that interested you or something that you wanted to talk about. That person would feed back to you and you would have what was called a conversation. And it was a good place for you to get out what you wanted to get out and for you to also receive from the other person. What I found, though, being where I am now, it's a lot more difficult to do that, because I can say something for like 15 minutes and try to explain something to someone and they could be like, crickets, what? And it's not meaning that the other people aren't in that same place that you are, or they're not understanding it because of their level of smartness or knowledge. They just don't get what you're talking about. You're talking about different things on different energetic levels, and it can be hard for someone else to respond if they have no clue what you're saying. Yet, even if I was talking and while I'm talking, I'm thinking, wow, look at me, I'm forming this idea so well and it's making so much sense to me, yet giving it to someone else and them not being able to recognize, understand, or receive it at this human logical level, there's no response back to you. There's no reverberation back to say, oh yeah, what about this, blah blah, what about that? So I've found how lonely this journey can be. If you are lucky enough to have a group of people who do get to understand you, who do get to know some of the things you're talking about and have their own opinions and understandings and ideas of the things you're talking about, and you can sort of bounce them off each other. I know that there is the smallest handful of people that I speak to now who can really hear what I'm saying, but even to that degree, sometimes I'm talking and it's like, yep, I'm hearing you, but right now I'm not getting you. But then by that same token, I was listening to people, a couple of years ago that I may not have heard the message that they're actually trying to say way back then. And it's only now through the consistent growth and the consistent movement towards finding more information that I can now sort of look back and go, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I get what they're saying. And I know they talk about those levels of this understanding and knowings that, sometimes you get it, then you get it, and then you get it again. That is so true. There's so many levels of understanding something as you are consistently growing into something else. And I know that part of my existence is to continue on that growth and to continue on that expansion of new understandings and new learnings and new beings, so that we can consistently get more of a deeper knowledge and understanding of some of the things that we may already have in our little knowledge bank, or new things that come in as well. But writing the book is really just highlighting that level of loneliness that you feel, not just on that spiritual journey, but that I had to go through as well when you move through the grief journey as well, because having your own awakening, ascension, or whatever word you want to use is a lonely journey. It is your unique experience to whatever it is that you're experiencing. You're journeying to a deeper understanding of yourself or connection to your soul or high source, whatever it is for you. But when you couple that with your grief journey of becoming a widow in the middle of your life, that's a whole new other journey of loneliness and discovering yourself on a totally new level. So obviously that's why the book's about both of them, because trying to experience both of them, it's like an expansion of, oh, hey, you want to know what loneliness feels like? Here we go. Let's give you both of these experiences at once. So yay, lucky me. But it can sometimes just, it gets to that point where it's like, oh my goodness, I've just had this really big thought. I want to bounce it off someone. And it's like, oh, who am I going to bounce it off? It's okay, yeah, I talk to my guides or spirits, or I'll ask out in the ethers or whatever. I know people can do that. You can ask it to other versions of self. You can do it to loved ones who have passed away, etc. But because I vibrated myself, that sounds like a really good sentence. When I vibrated out of the light grid and created, I don't even know. There's no words at the moment as I'm still asking questions and seeking answers. everything just stopped in what I was previously having access to, whether it was guides and collectives, all those sort of things that were attached to the light grid, they disappeared and no longer existed. So when I do have these questions, it's like, okay, where am I going to bounce this? Where am I going to knock this up against a wall and see what comes back? Because that is what us humans have become so used to doing. But I am finding more and more and more that part of this whole individualization journey that I'm on is not having that need to bounce those ideas off other people. I do, of course, still speak some of it into existence with people, or, you know, in social media in some cases, but it's no longer for that actual need of having a response from someone else. Because as we get more and more in tune with who we are and what we feel we know about ourselves and the direction that we're going, we no longer need to have that need of someone to say, oh yeah, that's correct, or that's not correct, or oh, what about this? We don't need that validation from anyone else. We manage to seek all the information within us, which doesn't make sense for many people. And even if you do try to start and voice something that you might feel is your own truth right now, voicing it somewhere else, you will always get someone who's going to tell you that, no. There's always going to be someone who's going to disagree with you. There's going to be someone who doesn't see it the way you see it, or has some very strong opinions about something totally opposite about what you're saying. So we need to get super strong in our own understandings and our own knowing, so that when we do come to these new understandings and we don't have anyone to bounce it off, that we are happy enough and strong enough and powerful enough to stand in our own convictions and know that everything that we are seeing or feeling or knowing to be true for us is exactly true for us. And for me, because of my, I call them big ideas, it's there's a lot of thoughts and ideas that come in and you're like, yeah, I don't think anyone's ready for that yet. Because they are. And despite all of that, when you boil it all down, and this is one of the biggest realizations that I've come to, is that, you know, it's all based on our beliefs. It's all based on our stories. It's all based on our imagination and what we are creating around us based on these beliefs and these stories that we hold on to. So it doesn't really matter what we actually believe to be true or what we're actually talking about. If it is, you know, as long as it's in our highest alignment with the truth of who we are and who we want to be, and it feels true for us right now, and it's working for us, and it's allowing us to have that deepest connection or highest timeline, or, you know, most aligned purpose, then it doesn't matter what we think. If we're believing in this thing over here, but everyone else is believing in this thing over there, that doesn't mean that we're wrong. It doesn't mean that it's not right. And we just need to know that we are allowed to have our own thoughts. We are allowed to have our own opinions and ideas. And if you're anything like me, mine just consistently change, and I can't help that. It is part of who I am in my journey of knowing and understanding, because I see a lot of other people who sit in the solidity of beliefs where this is the one path, this is the one way, this is the journey. You do this, then you do this, then you do this. And I honestly do not agree with that. I think that it is a consistently fluid state, and we will ebb and flow between different thoughts and different ideas and different beliefs as we grow as these human beings with our own energetic vibrational frequency, and no one else really has the power to judge that in any way. But I can tell you, through my own journey, I know that I was one of those people who would originally find something, go, oh my God, that is so true. Oh my God, I have to tell everyone. No, you can't tell me wrong. This is 100% correct, and this is the way it is. Yet, as I've moved through this whole process, I'm back at the beginning where it's all of it is correct. There is truth to every single belief and every single thing that we have, but we don't need to sit in the loneliness of the new learnings and new understandings and new things that come into our awareness if we're still believing and knowing that it's all just part of our imagination. It's all just part of our beliefs. And literally, while I'm speaking this whole podcast to you, you can see how I talk in a circle where I will start from talking about how it feels lonely, because it does feel lonely. This human gets lonely. There's no, I don't have someone like you, even just being someone. If you were still married, even if your husband wasn't understanding or getting what you were talking about, you still had that support of having someone who was still supporting you and loving you in whatever way they could, regardless of what you were talking about or what you were believing in. But now, when I was talking about being in that beginning of being that loneliness where you do have no one to sort of bounce it off, but then coming back to the point of, well, it's all just our imagination beliefs anyway. We're all just energetic frequencies and none of it does matter. Which is like, hang on a minute, you're literally contradicting yourself. And it's true though, this is how I think though. I can think in so many different levels and understandings, and that is why I can come to that conclusion that there is no right answer, there is no one way, and there is no true ideal step or process or journey that anyone else can tell us, which is the only thing that is true and correct. But at the bottom of it all, we are still human, as spiritual as we want to be, and as much as we want to connect to the energetic vibrational frequencies around us and the essence of who we are still these humans in this 3D world. We still feel, we still are going to experience these things that make us human. It's the emotions and the really sort of solid beliefs that may keep surfacing, those solid stories, those values and ideas that have been built into our DNA that may still surface and may still make us feel like we are super alone. But if we can just really just tap into the knowledge and understanding of knowing that every single thing that we feel, know, or talk about is totally true for us, and that we don't need to feel that we are any different from anyone else, because at the end of the day, the bottom line, when you break us all down, we are all just energetic vibrational frequencies having this experience in this 3D earth based on all our own beliefs, our imaginations, and our stories that we hold on to. And if we can look at it in both those lights, maybe we won't feel so lonely. Maybe we won't need to have that need to bounce all our ideas and all those new knowings and understandings off other people. Will be able to sit in the knowing and understanding that these are true, these are right, and these are perfect for us right now. Thanks, guys. I will be speaking to you next week.